Hello everyone, welcome into week 2 of high school football, and that means week 2 of high school roundup. I'm your host, Stephen Ruffing, and joined side me is 3 guests today in alphabetical order by last name: Danny Beck, Dylan Goday, and Colin Kirkwood. Fellas, welcome on the set.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I mean, you guys did it without me last week, so now we have 4 people on here. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, the 4 seniors, it's our time. It's our last go around here with high school roundup, so got to make it the best we can.
It's new. I like it. Having 4 people on the set, we get a whole nother set of opinions out here, and I feel like the pig segment is going to be fun.
It will be. It's going to be an intense show with a lot of opinions flying out. But before we get started, we're going to go right into the Laurel Highlands highlights. A little different this time. I won't be doing them. Danny, you have them for me today.
It is. It's an honor that you gave them off to me.
Yeah.
I was surprised when you said, "Do you want to do the Laurel Highlands?" I don't think I'm able to do them. But let's roll them. Let's roll
go.
them. So you can see right away, Laurel Highlands meeting Montour right at the midfield, get this game underway. And right here, Connor Basinger got the game started with a little bit of an option play over to Robbie Slater, make the score 6-0 to start this contest. Continuing the running onslaught now with Connor Basinger, run right up the middle, 4 yards, making the score even more, 12-0 now. Now Laurel Highlands, little pitch play, or excuse me, an option play. Might be seeing this one on the top 3 segment. It ran 45 yards to the house. Laurel Highlands just extending their lead over Montour. Now another little option play, but he's going to throw it this time over Ryan Fike. A beautiful pass. Might even call it a dilly dime. You see that last year if you stuck with us on high school roundup. And then also at halftime, it was 26-0. Now in the 4th quarter, though, Robbie Slater extending their lead one last time, making the final score 32-0. Laurel Highlands poured it all over Montour. Really, their running attack led this team, and the Mustangs just another victory.
Yeah, you know, I said this last week. This is a good Montour team. It was. In Laurel Highlands, you know, they're showing a lot, and you know what, Dylan, they're going to show a lot next week against Belle Vernon.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the showdown between LH and Belle Vernon. Belle Vernon coming off the loss. We'll get to that a bit later. But LH, again, super impressive. Connor Basinger, I think he is really making his case for one of the better players in the Whippeal, just leading that team. And when you have a quarterback like Basinger, when you're running the option attack, you have a chance against anyone because that option is hard to defend. And if you have a quarterback that can make great decisions, it makes it even tougher.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be interesting to watch. That game was 32-0. Now let's get into some more scoreboards. The Big 8 scoreboard. Let's take a look about what happened there. Again, we saw there Laurel Highlands 32-0 over Montour. Thomas Jefferson still being dominant, and that's that Belle Vernon game. Of course, Indiana and Ringgold, tough loss, 48-0. But Colin, that's a good Thomas Jefferson team we're seeing there.
Yeah, Max Shaw rushed for 152 yards on 14 carries there for TJ, and quarterback Shane Stump completed 7 of 12 passes for 201 yards. So really dual threat kind of game there for TJ.
Yeah, it was. As we continue on in the Big 8 conference, West Mifflin, a huge win over Trinity, 47-0. Mars, 35-7 over Greensburg Salem. And continuing on into the standings, Thomas Jefferson and West Mifflin are the 2 up there, tied for first place as of now with a 2-0 record in conference, Danny.
Yeah, and Laurel Highlands is down there 2-1. Haven't played a conference game yet, so once they start getting into the meat of their schedule and start going up the conference, you know, we see a little bit of a rise that we haven't seen from Laurel Highlands because it's a competitive conference, this Big 8, and you know, it's a lot of shakeups with Belle Vernon and you know with Thomas Jefferson in there as well.
Yeah, and Danny, you weren't here last week. Who do you got winning this Big 8 conference?
I can't go against TJ again. You know, I'm sure everybody else said almost the same thing, you know, each year. But yeah, you can't go against TJ. But I think Laurel Highlands, and Dylan mentioned it before, Laurel Highlands is a sleeper team this year. And I think that led by Connor Basinger, the senior quarterback, I think that they're going to go pretty far.
West Mifflin's a team that started out great as well. That's a team, sneaky team as well, because they have some talent. They always have there for West Mifflin.
Right. I mean, this Big 8 conference, it's a powerhouse, and they have been showing that for the past 2 weeks. Now let's go into the Big East scoreboards. Burrell losing to Elizabeth Forward 43-14. North Catholic 40-8 over Freeport. Danny, that Burrell team taking a huge loss from maybe a decent Elizabeth Forward team.
Definitely a decent Elizabeth Forward team, to say the least, as Zach Benedek ran for 3 touchdowns and threw for another in their big win over Burrell. And Elizabeth Forward looks to be a favorite again this season in the Big East Conference. You know, a great performance against Burrell, but look for them to continue that later on in the season.
Yeah, let's continue on with Big East. Mount Pleasant 22-16 over YOUGH, and Deer Lakes having a big win over Uniontown 47-14. Continuing on in the Big East, there's one more scoreboard. South Park falling to Derry 27-6. Derry, that was a big team we saw last year, Colin.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, getting a good non-conference win like that's definitely something that can really put some wind in your sails here moving on early in the season. So hopefully they'll be able to get some good Big East action later on in the season.
Yeah, let's see into the Big East standings now. North Catholic up top with Elizabeth Forward. Dylan, what are you thinking about the Big East standings here?
It's a three-headed race right now. You have North Catholic, Elizabeth Forward, and Derry, and we are super lucky to have that Elizabeth Forward North Catholic game on CUTV. That's going to be one that's going to be showcased. Probably all of the media attention will be towards that game because that's really maybe what the conference comes down to. You have Derry there as well, but that EF North Catholic game, we're going to have a great showing there on CUTV.
Yeah, that we are. I'm excited for a lot of good games coming up. Now going into the Interstate Conference. Let's take a look at their scoreboards. BETH-CENTER, another big win for them, 50-15 over Brownsville. McGuffey and Fraser, another pretty decently close one, 41-21. Dylan, McGuffey and Fraser.
Yeah, that McGuffey-Fraser game, they were tied at halftime at 21, and then McGuffey pulled away late there. We'll have Fraser this week against Charleroi. So that's a team to look out for with Fraser. They may have a little bit of bad blood coming off that game, being tied at halftime 41-21.
Continuing on in the Interstate Conference, Southmoreland a big win over the Mighty Mikes, 36-8. Summit Academy taking a huge loss to Washington. Colin, I know you're a fan of those Mighty Mikes. That's a tough one against Southmoreland.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big Carmichaels guy here. Everybody kind of has their own favorite team on set, and I've kind of just adopted Carmichaels as my own. They kind of remind me of some of the hometown Tri-Valley League football, and hopefully they can get it going here soon in the season.
And Danny, the defending Interstate champions, big win.
Flexing their muscle over Summit Academy. Another, as Colin mentioned before, you get those non-conference wins under your belt, put some wind in your sails, just to take a book or a page right out of your book, Colin. But this Washington team, they're strong, and right there, it's pretty evident.
Continuing on in the Interstate, Charleroi, another huge win, 48-7. Riverview, Dylan, Gino Pellegrini, is he the real deal?
Gino Pellegrini is the real deal. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Gino. We'll have him this week on CUTV's Game of the Week as well, so getting a nice plug for that. They'll be playing Fraser. Definitely look out for that. Gino Pellegrini already has committed to Division I there with Robert Morris, so he's a player that he's legit and definitely worth your time to see him on Friday night.
Right, and Charleroi with that win, working their way up in this interstate standings. Let's take a look at those. BETH-CENTER still up there. Of course, they had those two conference wins. Charleroi and McGuffey right behind them with that 1-0 record in conference play. Colin, you think this is going to be what it's going to look like? Charleroi, do you think they can make their way up there like Dylan says they can?
I really have a feeling it's going to be a two-team race here. I really don't want to rule anything out, but I feel like it might be BETH-CENTER and Charleroi duking it out towards the end of the year, and it should be some good football, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that BETH-CENTER Charleroi game is going to be fantastic. Washington still, they had a slow start to the season, but they're going to come back strong. You may get 3 teams, possibly 4 if McGuffey plays well, making the playoffs. So that's a conference to look out for. And
you were talking about the three-headed race in the Big East. That one as well in the Interstate Conference. I think that it could be a three-way race towards the end of the season. So both of those conferences are loaded with talent, and we're going to see it here. It's great Whitfield football.
And already surprised there with Washington losing to Charleroi. So a lot could happen in that conference.
Yes. Yeah, a lot can happen. You see a lot of shaking up in the Big East, the Big 8, but now the Interstate becoming a very competitive conference. We're going to take a quick break. After the break, we have Tri-County single A scores and standings, 5A scores and standings, and of course, our hometown scoreboard. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned right here on High School Roundup on CUTV.
High school football is back on CUTV. Brownsville versus Bentworth. Upper Dauphin versus Millersburg. Charleroi versus Fraser. California versus Washington. Belle Vernon versus Greensburg-Salem. Elizabeth Ford versus North Catholic. Carmichaels versus Union. Ringgold versus West Mifflin, BETH-CENTER versus Fraser. Catch all the action on your home for high school football. CUTV, California University Television.
And welcome back into High School Roundup on CUTV. I'm your host, Stephen Ruffing, and still with me, I can't get you guys out of my hair, Danny Beck, Dylan Goday, and Colin Kirkwood. You know, we're out east this week for our game of the week. Something a little different, Colin. We're at your hometown.
Yeah, it was a real great opportunity for us to be able to do that. But, I mean, in the area,
right.
But we were still close enough. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I do have the highlights from that game. But before we get into those, thanks to Devin for getting involved here with High School Roundup and really jumping in to help us out. He's actually going to make an appearance in the Pick'em segment this week, so look out for that. But in the meantime, let's take a look at these Millersburg and Upper Dauphin highlights. And this was quite a game here. We're going to get the scoring off early with Morris Coach getting into the end zone here for the Trojans. 2-point conversion will be tacked on after that, giving Upper Dauphin the 8-0 lead. Upper Dauphin very excited here, but responding would be the Indians here, as there's going to be a pass over the middle to Logan Marshall. So all he has to do is run his way into the end zone, and nobody was going to catch him on this one. He finds his way and almost trips and falls, but still manages to get in there. Score would be 15-6. Millersburg not going away. Responding is Zach Rupp here for the Trojans, and he's going to catch a bomb. Nobody near him as he's going to trot right in. Carefree touchdown Trojans, and this was a high-scoring game. 22-12 would be later on there. Mason Wiest once again for the Trojans here, faking out our cameraman, faking out all of us. I was even faked out during this here, as great angle there from camera 3, diving on into the end zone. 28-12. Upper Dauphin's got the lead here. Millersburg coming back with a toss-up prayer into the end zone. That's Kyle Kasner coming down with that one. Millersburg still hanging around, 35-21. Nice leaping celebration here. Here are the Trojans once again. Pressure coming from the Indians, rolling out, still finding a way to get rid of that one. Some good blocking here and being very elusive, moving away, still moving his way up the end zone. A lot of cutback, looking like vintage Troy Polamalu here. One man to beat into the end zone. Camera 3 once again, that would be Boyer for the Trojans. Once again, Upper Dauphin finding their way onto the scoreboard here, really making it hurt on the scoreboard as Donnie Kinnett would find his way into the end zone. As you can see some of the cars from homecoming in the background there. Very early for homecoming. 48-24 at this point. We are only in the third quarter here as Donnie Kinnett once again would find the end zone for the Trojans, pushing this lead to 61-32. Long run here. A lot to choose from for Dylan in terms of trying to find top 3 plays here, so I do not envy you for that duty here as the Indians are back on offense once again here. Aiden Harmon's going to unleash the long bomb once again, and who else? Kyle Kasner finding himself in the end zone once again. Great catch right in the breadbasket here. Millersburg 67-40, still hanging around. And finally, something you don't see every day, we're going to have a kick return for a touchdown here as Duke Bolton's going to reel this one in, and he is just going to take off. He's a man on a mission here. Rumbling, stumbling, bumbling on into the end zone here. Cut back, turn on the Jets, and he is in. And that would finally cap off these highlights here for our adventurous fireworks display of a game. Final score, 76-54. Upper Dauphin would get the win, and you are watching High School Football Roundup, not High School Basketball Roundup. That is 100% accurate. Guys, crazy game, and I know I enjoyed it. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think the first District 3 game ever covered by CUTV with 130 points scored. Absolutely insane. I know the entire broadcast, I was thinking that I was going to be cutting the highlights, and I was kind of really upset that I'd have to do that. And then Devin came in and saved the day yesterday and did them for me, so it kind of saved me a little bit of a headache. But yeah, I'm sure it was a headache for you too, Dylan, trying to pick those top 3
It
plays.
was tough. I mean, longest high school game I think I've ever been a part of. Even with weather delays, games don't last that long. I remember I was on camera 3 there, and the first quarter was coming to an end, and I thought it was the end of the first half, and I was like, wow, we still have 3 more quarters to go in this thing. So quite a long game, but entertaining. Lots of offense there in that one.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it to make our way out east there. A fantastic game, a lot of points. Honestly, hand up, not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a very nitty-gritty, on-the-ground type of game. But now back to reality, back to the WYPIO District 7, as these guys from the east would say, the Tri-County South scoreboards. California, a big win over AVELLA, finally getting that win that they needed. Jeff Morgan falling 40-6 over Mapletown. Dylan, this California team, a big win.
Yeah, and if you watched our show last week, I said California needs to get Coach Ryan involved, and what do you know? 258 yards, 6 touchdowns for California's Coach Ryan. So they definitely got him involved, and that could give California some momentum. A little teaser for our Twitter extra, little California action on that. So stay on the lookout for Twitter for that.
Stay on the lookout for that. California looks to continue the win streak next week, but continuing on with the Tri-County South scoreboard. West Greene, big win over CHAR-HOUSTON, Houston, 41-0. Bentworth, big win over, loses to Cornell, 43-15. Let's keep going with the Tri-County South. Springdale in Monessen. Monessen, this is a big win for them, 40-6 over the Springdale team, Colin.
Yeah, Monessen started this game with 23 straight points for them, and they're starting the season off on the right foot, beating Springdale, and they beat Cal. So those are 2 pretty good wins to get your season rolling here so far.
Yeah, you bet it is. Now let's see what these wins do for these teams. The Tri-County South standings. West Greene, something that I don't think any of us were really expecting.
Yeah, and the way they just blew out CHAR-HOUSTON, I mean, blanketed them, that was really surprising to me. So that's really why I think California still has a chance in this conference. You never know what you're going to get. West Greene, that's not a team we're accustomed to seeing lead that conference and be at the top of it. So look out for California to try to make a second half run. But Monessen also coming off a struggling season. They're coming back full steam ahead is Monessen.
Yeah, I was just going to say Monessen were another one of those teams that we saw a little bit of a disappointment a few seasons ago. And so they're getting back on the right foot. A big win over California, as Dylan mentioned. But just trying to keep that momentum going because of the fact that in the beginning of the season, you can almost mark up these first few games as just an extended preseason, seeing who's going to be able to stand out. And Monessen coming out strong, that has to bode well for later on.
Yeah, now it really puts California on the hot seat to see what they can do. Now we go into the Big East 5A scoreboard. Connellsville, a loss to Penn Trafford, a tough competition for Connellsville in that one. Franklin Regional, a win over Latrobe. Now this Penn Trafford team, guys, this is one of the best in not only Pennsylvania, but in the country.
Yeah, and always Penn Trafford and Connellsville, and always an exciting matchup. That one a blowout, but tough teams on either side. Penn Trafford coming out on the winning side.
Yeah, 2 more blowouts here. Gateway over Plum, 55-0. McKeesport, 49-0 over Albert Gallatin. McKeesport, another one of those teams that they get some wins, but they also get some shaky losses.
Yeah, that's one of those teams with that option attack. So McKeesport, when they're hot with that option, it's tough to stop them.
It definitely is. Now continuing on to the Big East standings. Gateway up top there, something maybe we could have guessed, but Penn Trafford, they're right down there, 1-1.
Franklin Regional, they play against West Mifflin this week, so that's a game to look out for. So Franklin Regional, can they beat that tough West Mifflin team? That's going to be a showdown, little cross-conference battle there.
And Colin, who do you got winning this Big East within the 5A?
Easily have to go with Gateway here. I mean, I've been following them for quite a while, back when they played a crossover game between them and Bishop McDevitt a few years ago. I started, following the WYPIO a little bit, and I've always, kept up with them just to see what they were doing. Big Gators guy.
Big Gators guy. Now, kind of going back home, back to our stomping grounds with the hometown standings. Colin, we saw a little bit of Millersburg. We know how they did, but let's take a look at what our teams did. Dylan, your Buchanan Upshur, they get a win this week?
Yeah, they got a win, a big win over a rival team there in Philip Barber. They have a bye this week, but it's nice to see them towards the top, 1-0 in the conference. That's signs in the right direction. They were close to club bottom last year, so nice to see them getting a couple wins and having a winning record.
There you go. Steel Valley got a win against Avonworth. Danny, Central Dauphin, how'd they do?
Yeah, they got a loss this week,
Yeah.
their first loss of the season. 2-1, so you're sitting right in the middle. I believe last year finished second behind Steel Valley in the hometown standings at least. But, you know, Central Dauphin, they're just getting off on the right foot. You know, 2 wins underneath their belt, so a loss was inevitable, especially against Mannheim. So that's a good loss.
You got to do what you got to do. All right, we're going to take another quick break. After the break, it's everyone's favorite segments. You got the pick'ems and the top 3 plays. Stay tuned here on High School Roundup on CUTV.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Are you a visual storyteller? The Cal Times and CUTV is looking for students with an interest in expanding their skills in photography and videography. We call it visual journalism, and we're here to offer you opportunities to learn how to shoot and edit from a wide range of events at California University of Pennsylvania. Our focus is on local coverage of sports and news events from campus and around the region. We provide on-site training as we help you develop your skills as a visual multimedia storyteller for the Cal Times newspaper and CUTV News Center. To learn more about visual journalism opportunities and join our team, visit our media production facility in the Natali Student Center or email the Cal Times at caltimes@calu.edu.
Welcome back to your favorite high school football show on CUTV, High School Roundup. I'm your host, Stephen Ruffing, and of course, Dylan, Danny, and Colin are still with me. Now, guys, we're going right into the pick'ems. A little shaken up because I know somebody that went 5-1 last week.
Yeah, you don't see Judy Highroller going 5-1
No.
too often, so maybe it's a sign of things to come for this year.
This is scary. That's really scary, actually.
It is scary. We'll take a look at how we all did. I know, Colin, you did the same as me. Maybe I should be up there in that first spot, but we won't talk about it. Bobby Delverne, Pam Delverne's husband, making his break in the pick'em standings at 4-2. Danny, 4-2. Dylan, 4-2. Twitter, they went 3-3. Colin, your pup, 3-3 as well, as well as Gary Smith. Now Devin, 2-4. He's sitting at the bottom.
Yeah, he's making his High School Roundup debut. He came in today with all the stats and everything. He said he's ready for these pick'ems here today.
The scoreboard doesn't really show that. Let's go into our upcoming games. We have a lot of good ones, and this one really starts it off. West Mifflin versus Franklin Regional. Dylan, Colin, myself, and Danny, we all have West Mifflin, guys. I think that's rightfully so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if we're the smart people, but Gary, Twitter, the puppy, and Bobby going the other way. Devin, smart pick on that one. But yeah, so it's going to be an interesting matchup. I haven't seen West Mifflin yet this season, at least me, but Franklin Regional, a tough matchup.
Yeah, it should be a great game, one of the best games in the local area. So West Mifflin, can they travel up, play a bigger school there in Franklin Regional, and come away with the win? I think they can.
Yeah, we'll see. And Mr. Delverne going for Franklin Regional. He does a lot of research on these games, but we saw how that worked for Devin. Next game for our pick'ems, Laurel versus California. I'm going Laurel on this one. You know, California, they really haven't impressed me yet. AVELLA, it's a team, you know, it's a beatable team. Colin, who do you got?
Steve, I'm actually kind of shocked that you're going with Laurel here. I know you're not exactly the biggest on California. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how it works out.
This year, I'm just not sold on that. That's it.
Yeah, I think Twitter went with California. I was checking. They went with Laurel.
Correct. That's Laurel. I went through it earlier today.
Okay, wow, awesome. I thought it was the other way around when I looked earlier. So
the one thing that I have to say, just quick, interruption, whatever. Cochise ran 258 yards and 6 touchdowns last week. How can you go against California?
He's back.
Well, I mean,
how can you go against him?
All right, whatever you guys say. I'm going to stick with Laurel going into our next game. Brownsville versus Washington. Now, we could have predicted this one. I don't think there's much to say about this. Gary going with Brownsville, of course, never bet against your home team. All of us, rightfully so, going with Washington. Our next game for the Pick'em. Sorry, Gary, I think you're going to be in the losers section on this one. Next graphic for our Pick'ems, BETH-CENTER versus Southmoreland. This one surprised me. You know, Southmoreland, they had a big win just last week. Now, BETH-CENTER, a team that probably has a chance to win their conference.
BETH-CENTER really surprising a lot of people, coming out getting a huge victory over California, really lighting up the scoreboard in that one. So not necessarily surprised, but you're right, Southmoreland, no slouch.
No, not at all. Next game for our Pick'ems, Belle Vernon versus Laurel Highlands. This is going to be a good game. I don't think Laurel Highlands is just going to roll over on this one. Dylan, I believe that you originally went with Laurel Highlands on this one, but you changed it. You changed it because you didn't want to be in the hot seat.
Call me out, okay? Call me out. Still on the hot seat here, but I was thinking about LH. I'm a huge Connor Basinger fan. Belle Vernon struggled last week against Thomas Jefferson, but their running back, Mason Pasco, we saw him last year. He finished with 270 yards. Without him in that TJ game, they would have had minus 30 yards total offense. So he's definitely their biggest threat, and I think he can break away and have a big game against LH.
He definitely can, but I don't know. I think LH is might be the better team, and that is my high rule of the week. Danny and Colin joining me on the good side. Let's see our next game for our Pick'ems. Fraser versus CHARLEROI. This is another one. I'm very, very surprised we all took CHARLEROI.
Yeah, I don't think I'm really surprised. This is Gino Pellegrini. A tough matchup against Fraser, though. So, I mean, we're going to see if CHARLEROI can come out strong.
And that's an old-fashioned rivalry there between those two schools. That'll be our CTV game of the week. So, again, check that out on Friday. Lots of plugs for that one, but definitely check that out. It should be a fantastic football game. It
definitely should. Now, going back to the Laurel Highlands game and our game of the week, we have the top 3 plays. Dylan, this is all you.
Yeah, top 3 plays. It was tough to find just 3 out of those top 3 plays. So let's jump right into it now. Starting out here, the top 3 plays again. Thank you, huge thank you to Red Dogs there for coming on, sponsoring our scoreboards and our top 3 plays. First, number 3 from the Laurel Highlands game. Been talking about him all game. Connor Basinger here, 45 yards right through the middle, outrunning the whole secondary for Montour to get into the end zone. So that's our number 3 play. Now on to number 2. This one from the Upper Dauphin shootout there with Millersburg, and it's a 90-yard run by the wide receiver here, and Jake Ramberger goes right up the middle, cuts to the outside, breaks the corner's ankles, and outruns the corner again into the end zone. Great touchdown run there, a 90-yard touchdown run at that. Now our number 1 play, again, tough to choose out of this game. This is quarterback Maitland Akers rolling out to his left, eluding defenders, throws it off there to his receiver there in Dalton Boyer. Dalton Boyer makes guys miss, cuts across the field, 50 yards across the field, breaks a tackle there, gets past the tackle there, and gets into the end zone. So Dalton Boyer with the top play of the week. Is that enough to pass the blue ribbon play? No, it is not. Jacob Kisner again with probably the play of the year here as he tips that ball, comes down with it with his left hand. Again, a fantastic catch. Jumps up, tips it with his right, somehow pins it between the ground with his arm there and corrals a catch. So that's going to be tough, guys, to knock off that blue ribbon play.
It is, and I don't really think, I don't want to, I mean, I'm hoping that something tops it, but I don't know if anything will be able to top that one.
It'll be tough.
Yeah, well, if you guys have any highlights as well, you can send them in to us on Twitter. We could put in some other ones from other games. If any highlights, you tag us in your huddle or something like that, we can try to get them on the social. Tweet them at us at CUTV_PA.
Now we can. A lot of good highlights this week. Hopefully we can see some from you. But guys, any last words?
I think it was a good week of football. There are a lot of blowouts this week.
Yeah.
We were showing on the scoreboard, a lot of blowouts. So this week, I think the meat of the schedule is going to start coming in. A lot more conference games being played. A lot of nitty-gritty whip-yo football. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. There's a couple great battles shaping up in a couple conferences that we can follow throughout the whole season. Again, that CHARLEROI BETH-CENTER is going to be a close one to watch. And North Catholic versus EF. Can EF right their wrongs of the past and come away with a conference victory? We'll yet to see.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out the Twitter Extra, Dylan's hot take.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's coming up.
He's got a pretty good take this week, and I actually agree. So we'll go with that. And also,
that's a first, by the way. That is a first.
that is a first. That is documented. I am agreeing with Dylan, but nonetheless, yeah. If you have any kind of highlights or anything like that, do us a solid. Tweet them, CUTV_PA, and we'll get them on.
There you go. Another great week. Thank you to everyone in our studio audience for the first time, everyone in the back, our director, Gary Smith, and for Colin Kirkwood, for Dylan Goday, and for my pal, Danny Beck. I'm Stephen Ruffing. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.